explanation according to Rashi.
It's soft.
That's later. I shouldn't say it now. He is going to cut it in such a way that it will be a good toothpick, right? We're in Maseches Beitsa, Daf Lamed Gimel Lamed Beis at the top, where Rabbi Yehuda says that if you take some food that's good for animals, like for example straw, etc., and cut it into like a toothpick, don't have to worry, like we've seen in previous sugyas, we had to worry about making something into a kli. He claims if it is already food that is fit for an animal, then you don't have the trouble, you don't have the halachic problem of making it into a kli, of fixing it into an implement. Why would you think that is? Rashi doesn't really explain that part, actually. Why is it better if I take something that's food of an animal? What would you say, Sruli?
Well, it's better than...
Why is it better? We've had cases before where I'm not allowed to take things and make them into a kli. And here we're saying you're allowed to make it into a kli. It's not a problem of tikkun kli.
Yeah, you can take the bells of a cat and throw it, of a goose and throw it to the cat. It's not considered muktzah.
Okay, but we're not talking about muktzah at this point. We're talking about taking something and making it into something that I can use for myself as a toothpick, right?
Yeah.
And yet it's not a problem of tikkun kli.
It doesn't have a use.
It does have a use. I'm going to use it to
I mean, this has a use, right? You cut it to clean your teeth. That's a use. That's
Yeah.
a kli.
Yeah. So why don't I have an isser of making a kli? We've seen before. I'm not allowed to make a kli. I'm not allowed to take even a wick and cut it into two. Remember that?
Sure.
So why is this permissible? You hear the question.
Why are you not do what's to do in this case and the other case?
Yeah, all those other cases. We had many other cases earlier in the Masechta, not so long ago, a page ago, or even half a page ago, where we said this is a problem of tikkun kli and this is a problem of tikkun kli. We kept saying, not allowed to take something and make it into a kli. Here, Rav Yehuda is saying it's okay, you can. Why?
Well, this is Rabbi Yehuda the Tsama.
Yeah.
What does it matter who's saying it? What's their svara? What's their logic?
Because it's not muktzah.
Nobody spoke about muktzah. Not because of muktzah or not muktzah. It's not an issue of muktzah. I'm still not allowed to make a kli. How am I making a kli over here? What's allowing me to make it into a kli? Why is that suddenly permissible when all the time we're saying, no, don't make a kli?
You're not preparing it. You're not cutting it.
I'm cutting it. Yeah, I'm cutting it. Yeah, look at Rashi.
Mm-hmm.
Read the Rashi. Truly.
Wasn't the Hema going cash straw for other killing in the weeds, right?
Kani.
Cutting the weeds.
Ale kani are the weeds.
The weeds. Ein Bahem Tikkun Kli. Not to them.
What does that mean? There's not to them.
Don't have a halacha of.
You don't have a problem, in other words. You don't have a problem making them into a kli. What does that mean? Rashi explains.
Mutter lekatol.
Likton.
Mutter likton.
It's mutter to
Cut them.
to cut the ends off, to chop off the ends,
You tuck it into.
and to make a tikkun. Rashi's saying you're making a tikkun. That is a tikkun. And you're allowed to do it.
Kash Shabalin Shabbos.
It's another example, some kind of straw that's connected to the wheat or whatever. You can take that. Rashi's saying, based on this din of Rav Yehuda, you could take a piece of straw on Shabbos and cut it off.
To clean the teeth.
Right. So are you making a tikkun?
Yes.
Rashi says yes, l'taken. Are you doing it with some kind of an action? Yes, liktom. What's liktom? You're chopping off the end.
Okay.
So you're making an action, you're doing something that should have been considered a tikkun. So why is it suddenly permissible? Right? Obviously not everybody accepts it because someone's going to say asik. Okay? So it's going to be controversial what he's saying. But still, what's his svora? He has to have a svora. And strangely, Rashi doesn't actually say what the svora is.
Yeah.
He's leaving it up to you.
The
Has you
svara.
found the answer in your wallet?
No, I was just checking something. If there's anything behind. Okay. What's a svara?
How about in your wallet? Is there an answer in your wallet?
No.
No?
Well,
Answer. He was looking in his wallet for the answer, didn't find it. Find it in your wallet? What's the answer, guys?
Because you.
So we're making a tikkun that it's acceptable. Basically, that's what he said.
Yeah.
Why? Because it's temporary. It's not.
What do you mean
It's
throw
not
it away?
a permanent.
I can hear your svara,
Yeah.
That's
but it may not be enough, because if we find earlier examples of a tikkun that's temporary, we'd have a problem then, according to you. But I don't say I know of one, but let's say that's...
It's not going to last too long. The animals eat it finished. You know?
Okay, that might be part of the answer. What's another possible answer, Sruli?
That means you can throw it away, right?
That's what he's saying. He's saying actually the animal's going to eat it, so...
It's not a proper clean.
Well, why is it not a proper kli? What if it wasn't animal food? Would I have a problem?
Depending on what, if you had intention.
The same thing he's doing here.
Would you
Cutting off the end to make it fit as a
So I
toothpick.
think the
That's a
svara
problem.
What do we talk about over here?
There's no problem. You cannot
It is a
deny-
problem.
We're going to use it for yesterday, right? We're going to.
We're not talking about muksa. Don't think so much about muksa as opposed to, as I say, I set it aside. I set pieces of straw aside, and it's not animal food. So then would there be a problem?
Yes.
Yes. So what's the difference? If it's animal food, it's not a problem. If it's not animal food, it's a problem. That's clearly what he's saying, because he's specifying only because it's animal food. So why does that suddenly make it okay?
Because the toothpick you can also throw away. It's also not long lasting. Yeah?
Okay, so you're saying the difference is if it wasn't animal food, then it would last a longer time, so they're considered a permanent change.
That's right.
Okay, it's possible to be right. And then if it's animal food, you consider it a very temporary change, so therefore it's not enough. It's not permanent enough to cause a problem. That's what you want to say, right? Okay, I can't say you're entirely wrong. I like the thought process that you're going through, but I think there's a simpler answer. What?
Ochel is not actually. It's not considered.
Okay, now you're going in a different direction, right? You realize you're now going in a different
Yeah.
direction than your first answer.
No, I'm
Okay.
not. I'm keeping the first answer as well.
Okay,
So,
but you're doing an inami.
uh,
Inami, or else you can give another answer that this is the direction I was thinking of going in, which is, I think, the reason why Rashi doesn't say anything, because he says the words Ochle Behema. He's specifying it's only in this kind of a category called Ochle Behema. Because if it's food for an animal, then maybe when I do my little tikkun, yes, for me it has this usage, but it still doesn't change it from being an Ochle Behema.
like our food. Our food's not. Our food's not a problem. It's not clean.
Okay, so that would be a question. What if you take Ochel of Adam
Yeah.
and you make it, let's say, fit for picking your teeth, but you're still going to eat it, like we used to do in the restaurants. You get a breadstick and you smoke it, and then you eat it. Ever do that? That was our favorite pastime when we were children. You go to a restaurant, you get these, and you pretend it's a cigar, and then you eat it. So let's say let's say celery. Celery, you can use it as like a spoon.
I think if you don't have the intention to use it as a spoon, then you cannot use it.
What?
For example, if you have clippers, if you have covering of nuts, even though it's also you can eat it, right? Once it's...
Covering of a nut? What do you mean?
If you have a nut,
I mean, you're talking about making brachos now? How you make brachos on foods?
you have a plate of nuts,
Yeah,
and you want to eat them. That's perfectly acceptable food for human beings.
right.
And once the nut is, the actual fruit is out of the nut, the rest of it
The
is...
shell, you mean?
The shell, yeah.
The shell is muksa.
Muksa, yeah.
Okay, that's because that's not a function. But we're talking about here taking a food, shaping it into a slightly different shape so I can use it temporarily, as you point out, and then I'm still going to eat it. Like here, the animal's still going to eat it. We're supposed the animal's still going to eat it.
I have a feeling that ochel
Of an adam would not be the same halakha. Specifically, ochel behema. Okay. If it's for the reason that I thought, which I thought you were implying as well, that I'm not really making it into a kli because it still remains food for an animal. So it never fully leaves that category of being food for an animal. It's food for an animal that looks a bit different right now, so I can use it for my teeth, but that's not, it doesn't become a kli. Maybe it's like your first answer as well, but it's only temporary. It never really becomes a kli. That's what I was thinking. It doesn't become a kli, because it's ochel behema, remains ochel behema. I'm not really changing it from that.
So regardless of what it is, animal food is animal food, right?
I think so, that it doesn't change the fact, because I'm not creating a new implement. All I'm doing is shaping it slightly different so I can use it, maybe, like Shabbatai was saying, temporarily. So it doesn't ever really become a permanent kli. It never really becomes a different thing other than the food that it is. But if that's the pshat, my problem with that is, I don't understand why you can't say the same thing with human food.
So you're not creating a new...
If I have some kind of human food that I could shape temporarily to fit my need, right, and then I'm going to eat it, that should be the same explanation. I never really made it into a kli because it always remained human food. So maybe the answer is because if I do it with human food, my usage of it will make it kind of, not something that's appetizing anymore. Right? If I use it to pick my teeth, I'm not going to really want to eat it after. It's like it becomes like bal tashak, so like, right? It becomes a little bit like it's like if someone already ate a piece of bread, no one really wants to eat it because he ate from it, right? So if I take a piece of food and I do something with it, one of my other things like picking my teeth or doing something else, it loses its appeal as food. So maybe it can actually become a kli, can stop being food. Whereas for an animal, you don't care if the animal's not going to care if you picked your teeth with it. He's not going to like, oh, Shabbatai use it for his teeth. No, thank you. Right? So it remains food. I think that might be a sword. Why it would be different than human food then. This human food that's used for someone's personal needs, people might not want to eat it anymore. So therefore it might really become the kli and stop being food. Whereas animal food, when you use it for your own personal needs, it can still remain animal food. So it never really fully becomes a kli. That's what I was thinking. Still bothers me that Rashi doesn't say any of this, because to me, this is an important point. And
see, I mean, animal food is very common. Every day, every minute of every day, people are feeding their animals.
mm-hmm.
And how often you go to dinner and someone's eating lettuce and then decides to feed his teeth for the lettuce?
Okay,
I think that's done.
But just like you're talking about feeding animals all the time, people feed their children all the time. Sorry for the, I'm not equating
But they
it.
don't clean their teeth with food.
That's what I'm saying. Why not? The answer must be because once you use it for your own personal need, people won't want to eat it. So therefore, it becomes the kli, and that's it. It stops being food and becomes a kli. Whereas animal food, if you use it for your own personal need, it won't stop becoming animal food. The animal's not going to consider it gross, as we say.
And yet Rashi calls it a tikkun.
You are trying to be metakenet. You're doing an act which is objectively a kind of a tikkun. But that's the point. Normally a tikkun kli takes something and really makes it a proper kli. Either something that wasn't a kli becomes a kli, or something that was a kli becomes a better kli. But basically you're taking something, you're making it into a kli. So maybe that's the way I understood it, that if it's Michael Behema, it never really fully becomes the kli. It's an act which should be perfecting the kli, but it's not really because it's not a kli. It still remains animal food. That's what I was thinking.
And of course with animal food, it doesn't say animal food for long.
I hear that svara, but I'm just saying, if it really becomes a kli, so who cares if the animal ends up eating it? He still made a tikkun.
Or a toothpick, you attack it, continue to put it down, and can keep later. Keep continuing.
Well, in the modern world, I don't know if everybody reuses their toothpicks. I do, actually, as it happens. But I think I'm a bit of a unique character in that respect. But maybe not. You told me you do it as well.
What's it?
You hang on to your toothpicks for later.
Fast.
Maybe enough people do it that it makes it. Okay, so I'm just saying, so I think it becomes more permanent. Maybe you're right, it's a question of permanence, and also it changes from being an ochel to a kli, whereas animal food, it will remain animal food. Yes, you're going to use it, but you're not necessarily changing it from what it originally was. All right, it's just interesting sport.
Yeah, that's
Now, happens to be that there's a machlokus. Rav Kana disagrees with Rav Yehuda.
so it's by Rav Kahana and Rav Yehuda, so there's this question. Mitaltaltin 8c Samim Baruch Bahem. So he argues regarding picking up a piece of wood containing
Well,
samim.
you're making it sound like a personal argument. What it is, he's quoting a Beitsa, right? Esve or Mesve means he's quoting a Beitsa. So here are two Amoraim arguing. So the best way to win the argument is to bring an earlier Beitsa that's like, your opinion. So Rav Kana is bringing a Beitsa that supports his opinion, which is apparently that you can become chayiv, or at least it is not mutter to make some kind of a tikkun, even if it's ochel.
So picking up a wood containing spices.
Metaltalin is a plural verb, right?
Yeah.
So let's just capture the pluralness of it. We or they do this thing. So what's metaltal means to
move or pick up.
to move around. So metaltalin means
They move around?
they are allowed, or we are allowed, Jews are allowed to move around what?
Wood containing samim.
Well, it doesn't mean, containing is like a weird word, as if it's like a box containing something inside of it. No. It's wood that is besamim.
You smell it.
It is, right?
I think it is, right? It's like a cinnamon stick or something, right?
Why is it etzi?
Atse. That's the construct of two words, eight seam shell. Like B'nai Yisrael means Banim Shel Yisrael.
And smichos.
Yeah.
I still have so much trouble with this.
Well, you should just write a whole list of words that you know are smichut. Sifrei Torah, Kivrei Tzadikim, B'nai Yisrael.
Okay.
Sifrei Kabbalah, Sifrei Halacha, Atse B'samim. Same exact thing.
So they're allowed to pick up wood, spice wood,
Right.
to smell it.
Right.
להניח בהם לאכולה, and to wave it in front of the sick.
Right.
לא
This helps sick people.
Probably it makes their life more
called
pleasant.
aromatherapy.
It revives them.
It's called aromatherapy.
You hear that? It's therapy.
Yeah.
Aromatherapy.
Aromatherapy.
Yeah. Doesn't work.
You do?
Alright, so that's two things. And the third thing you can do with it,
and to roll it in your fingers.
right, like crush it up,
Crush it to smell it.
right?
That's
Okay, those are three things you're allowed to do with this kind of wood.
ולא
Yiktamenu.
יקטמנו. You're not allowed to cut it to smell it.
Right.
Even kids
Kitmo.
who patur, you're patur. It's permissible. While asul sauce or shanav, you don't have to put your teeth in it.
Right. So those are
So you can cut it to smell it, but you can't cut it to put your teeth in it.
right. No, you can't cut it to smell either. It says lo yiktamen l'reach.
Are we talking about the...
Those are malonim is crash, right?
So you can crush it, but you can't cut it.
Right. So you're not allowed to cut it in order to make it smell that right, but it's still
Okay, to order.
huh?
It's not
Yeah,
violent.
okay, but let's not concentrate on that. Because you remember Rashi used the verb before, that when Rabbi Yehuda was letting you do it, whatever tikkun you were doing to the animal food, Rashi used a specific verb in order to set you up for the later Gemora. This Gemora. What verb did Rashi use? That we found here in the in this new Beitsa also, right? Which is what?
Cut.
Like to cut at the end, probably like to cut at an angle, so it ends up being like a sharp edge at the end. Okay, so when Rashi was talking about Rabbi Yehuda's Heter allowing you to do it, he said you're allowed to do that action of likto. And now the Rav Kana is arguing, the best argument would be to bring a case where that same action is forbidden. So the mololo is not really the point right now. The point is, Rav Yehuda let you do liktom to create a toothpick, right, with this straw. And here the Bryce is saying you can't do that with this wood, whatever it is, in order to smell, right? And even though if you did do it, then it would be what? Right. But the other thing you're not supposed to do is what?
To smell it.
That was what we just said. You can't cut it to smell it.
To crush.
You are allowed to crush. What are you not allowed to do?
Because of your teeth.
Don't just guess. Please read it properly. Don't just see a word and shoot the word out of your mouth. Try to look at the Bryce and see what it's really saying and tell me what it's you're not allowed to do.
You're not allowed to cut it for tea, to clean the teeth with it.
Good.
You're not supposed to cut it to smell.
Good. Those are two things you're not supposed to do. Then it also says, but if you did do that, then what's going to happen to you?
In case of kidney or left or potter.
Right. Patra aval aser.
But
The other one,
to come or to clean the teeth out, you chayev.
chayev chatas, right? There's one which very strong isser. Isser deraisa, right? Okay, so the direct stira would be what? You're not allowed to do liktom, right?
Yeah.
Neither if your intention is to smell it, nor if your intention is to use it as a toothpick. So, and but the results, b'di'evid, are different. This one, if you do it, is only pater, it's still usher, but it's only, you're not going to be chayev chatas. The other one, it says you're chayev chatas. But either way, there's a good kash on Rav Yehuda, right? Because he said you're allowed to do liktom, and here it says you're not allowed. Either way. Right?
Yes.
That's a direct collision with Rav Yehuda.
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously there's going to be some kind of an answer, but let's first see what Rav Yehuda answers to defend himself.
So, when we actually see the words Rav Yehuda allows it,
At the top of the page. Ochle behema, ein behem mishum tikkun. And Rashi, when he explains it, says, what does that mean? What kind of tikkun are you going to try to do? Liktom. So Rashi, in his inimicable way, is setting you up for the Gemora. He's saying included in Rav Yehuda's heter is liktom. How does he know? Because the kasha that Rav Kana asks is from liktom. Now, if Rav Yehuda never let you do liktom, what kind of a kasha is that? I'm saying you could do something but not liktom, and you're bringing me kasha from liktom. If I agree liktom is usher, then it's no kasha. So Rashi knew that Rav Yehuda must be what? Saying liktom is mutter. That's what Rav Kana's asking from the Beitsa where it says liktom is usher, right? Except when he asked his kasha from liktom being usher, it was like a super duper kasha, because he didn't need, that's what Rav Yehuda was going to answer him. You're bringing me a super duper kasha, but this really could have been a very easy kasha. You could have just said it's usher, right? That would have been enough. Why bring me a Beitsa that says chayav chatos? It's like knocking me out. Why do you need to knock me out? Just prove me wrong, not to knock me out. Okay, so that's like a side point that Rav Yehuda feels he spoke too harshly, right? Rav Kana is bringing a Beitsa that's chayav chatos. Right? It would have been sufficient for you just to bring this usher. That's enough. I'm saying it's mutter, so anything that says usher is going to be difficult. So that's, for some reason, Rav Yehuda focuses on that first. Why did you bring a kasha from this Beitsa, which has chayav chatos, that's super strong kasha? It would have been enough just to bring a normal kasha. I say it's mutter, and here it says it's usher. But whatever. That's like a personal gripe, that he's personally angry at Rav Kana for bringing such a over-the-top Beitsa.
How would I pick it up?
We didn't see that yet.
Oh, so
That's coming up. I just wanted to prepare you, because we're going to see now, we read it yesterday, but we're going to see now a wording in Rav Yehuda's answer which is hard to understand. What's he really saying? If you go through the Rashi carefully, that's what I did before, you see that what he's really saying to him is that, yes, of course you seem to have a good kasha on me, but you brought like a super duper kasha against me. You didn't have to go so far. You could have just brought a regular kasha against me, and then I still have an answer, but I wouldn't feel offended. Like, for some reason he's offended that Rav Kana chose to bring against him a Beitsa. This is like super duper against him.
Yeah.
Not nice when people are super duper against you.
Yeah.
Hard enough when they're just against you.
Opposition.
Super duper against you is even harder.
It's a pile, you know?
Yeah.
So why would you do that?
Theoretically, you could just say, the easiest answer is that's the only Beitsa he found that was against Rav Yehuda, but it happened to be a harsh thing. But maybe there's a reason why. Maybe he actually wanted to be harsh. Maybe they have a bit of an issue between them. I don't know. Assuming there's another Beitsa he could have brought, it does seem a bit harsh, but in the meantime, it's like that's a smoke screen, the truth is. That's not the main point. The main point is he brought a Beitsa that's actually contradicting Rav Yehuda. Rav Yehuda said it's mutter, and here saying it's usher. So let's just concentrate on that. This side thing about the Beitsa that he brought was so harsh is really like a red herring. It's not the main issue. Let's not get too tangled up in it. It's nice to see that there's such a give and take between the Amoraim. Like there's a Rav named Rav Hamnuna. And someone didn't like something he's saying, so they said you should really call him Rav Karnuna.
Where's this in the Gemora?
There's a Gemora somewhere, I don't remember where it is. I think I've seen it, but it's a famous question in the Sefer Chofetz Chaim. How could someone say that? It's insulting. He was insulting him. Calling him Rav Karnuna, you know what that means? You're like the people who hang out on the Keren Zavis. You know what Keren Zavis is? Street corners. That's when you leave a base midrash at night. When you leave here at night, you should say that as a tefillah at the beginning of your right? When you come in and when you leave. Is that listed there somewhere? Yeah. You know, when you come in, you say one thing, and when you leave, you're supposed to say another thing. Ano melim v'hema melim, right? So that's over there. You say we're thankful that Hashem did not make us from Yoshvei Kronos. Thank you, Hashem, that you didn't make me from the people who hang out on the street corner. Huh?
Sitting in the cafe corners.
You do say it.
No, sitting in the cafe corners.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to look at people outside and criticize them. I'm just saying we should feel thankful that we don't have to sit around finding things to talk about on the street corners. We have important things to talk about. So that's one of the things when we leave a Beis Midrash at night. You thank Hashem. Thank you, Hashem. I was able to spend my day doing important things and not these empty things that people tend to find to talk about. But I'm just saying that's what a karnuna is. That's what he was insulting him. He was saying, you say that, you're like a Rav Karnuna. Like, you're like from one of those people who hangs out on the Karen Zavis. That was a very nasty thing to say. So the Chafetz Chaim asks, how in Hilchos Lashon Hara, how can they say that to you? They often say harsh things to each other, which is like, it's like calling someone a monkey. You know, you think like a monkey. You're like a 2-year-old. You think like a 2-year-old. It's insulting, right? Isn't that insulting? So the Mishabur the Chafetz Chaim talks about how what the heter is, and in Torah learning sometimes you have to say something very, very strong to make sure the truth is established, but still pretty harsh. It seems like there were such a thing to try to sometimes bring harsh things which would put people in their place. Kind of like calling someone Rav Karnuna. And his real name was Rav Hamnuna. And he was a pretty brilliant man, but just this particular time, this other Amora felt he was wrong, so he called him Rav Karnuna. Life can be tough, right?
So I read today, when people were criticizing the Melech, Beitsa, they asked him, what would a person have death in a relationship with a married woman? So he said death. So they were mocking him, right? So he said, are you talking Lashon Hara? It was Lashon Hara, right? See, it's Lashon Hara, people who speak Lashon Hara get Gehidon, right? The people who embarrass people, they don't get Olam Haba. At least they get Olam Haba, but these people don't get Olam Haba. It's an interesting...
yeah, it is.
You know, you can talk nasty about a person, but don't embarrass them. That's more serious.
Although the truth is that there's a Chazal, I think the Chafetz Chaim brings it. This is someone who's like habitually involved in Lashon Hara, he comes back as a dog.
Yes, that's right. I read that today as well. Yeah.
So, it seems like that itself is like a pretty harsh punishment.
Well, that's what happened with David Melech. His son, when David Melech died, eventually on the steps, one of the steps gave away and he phones on Hedron. He said, my father's lying in the street.
Right.
And the dogs are hungry. That's what he said. And the dogs are hungry. And he wanted halacha to cover both those situations. How I moved my father, they said with bread and a baby, and they explained each why.
Right.
And the dogs are hungry refers to the people that were criticizing him.
Oh.
They were speaking Lashon Hara about him. And they come back as dogs.
Uh-huh.
Which is nice, very nice way to do that.
Well, they say David was vindicated later when they actually finished the Beis Hamikdash and they couldn't bring the Aron HaKodesh in through the gates. Hashem made a miracle, the gates wouldn't let the Aron in. Until they said Tehillim of David and Melech, and they opened up the gates opened up for the. So it says at that point David and Melech was vindicated. All the people who used to say Lashon Hara about him had nothing to say anymore. When you say his Tehillim, then the gates open for the Aron. So you see, there were people who were against David who would speak Lashon Hara against him. That they were silenced when this happened.
Even that question he asked, especially he had bread and a baby on his chest. The bread represents wealth. So they say that people who have relationships with married women will not leave the world without poverty. So the bread shows that he was food, it was.
Yeah.
And the baby was to show that he had an ongoing, mahalach they call it. Mahalach, that he had ongoing progress after his death through his children.
Project.
Through his project, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, because that is a halacha. You know, it's brought down in Shulchan
Yes.
Aruch. If you want to remove a dead body, you put on a
From the Sanhedrin.
Kikar
He asked
Tina.
the Sanhedrin, yeah. And this is Shlomo Melech to us. He was very young. He was only 12. He was
Interesting. Like Betzalo.
anyway,
Okay.
back to work.
So Kodesh from the Kahana.
Yeah, they're having a big argument on Kokus here. So Rav Yehuda says what he says, and Rav Kana disagrees, but his way of disagreeing is to bring a Beitsa that's against, even though it's a bit harsh, it still seems to be a good kasha, but Rav Yehuda, his first reaction is to be offended that he brought such a harsh Beitsa against him. So that's what we see in the Gemora. Amarle.
Amalei Hashta Pata Asa.
Kakashali. You already had a good kasha in the part that said pater, because pater means pater of alasr. Even if it's just pater, it's still a kasha against me, because pater in Hilchos Shabbos always means pater of alasr.
There's Pata one, but there's an issue.
So even if it just said pater, that would have been a kasha against me. The fact that it went ahead and said chatas, chayav chatas, is too much. Miboya. Did you really need to do that? Did you really need to go so far and bring against me a Bryce that said chayav chatas? That's going too far. It's like mom is choking me to death. That's not nice, right? So he was offended. Okay, so
the point means
did you need to? Did you need to do that? Did you need? It goes without saying. It goes without saying, meaning you didn't need to do it. You didn't need to bring a con. That's how Rashi learns. He was telling him, you could have brought a good kasha against me from the simpler case where it says pater of al aser. Because anytime it says pater, it means of al aser. So once it says pater of al aser, I know I'm wrong, theoretically, right? There's enough to show that I'm wrong. Because it's saying aser, pater means pater of al aser, and I'm saying mutter, so that would have been enough. But did you need to go so far as to bring a brace that says against me that that the fellow's chayav chatos? It's like bringing much harsher proof against me that you didn't need to bring.
Overkill.
Like it's overkill.
So this word pater in this sense means that it's not really allowed.
Well, pater literally means you do not have to pay or bring, in this case a chatas.
Yeah.
You're pater from bringing a chatas.
What's that word? Pater?
What do you mean? Pater means you're absolved from responsibility.
Yeah.
That's what the word pater means.
Alright, that's the actual word pater.
Yeah. It's actually there's other words, niftar, for example. A person leaves this world, it's called niftar.
Free of obligation.
Or like patira. Patira means he's leaving, he's going away. Usually to the next world, but it can be even someone leaving to go across the ocean, so called a patira of sorts. So pater really means you move away from the obligation. You're not obligated. That's really what it means. You're not obligated. So if you're talking about money, it means you're not obligated to pay money. If you're talking about a chatas, so you're pater from bringing a chatas. All those cases can vary depending on what you're talking about. The pater will mean different things. Just as chayav means different things. Chayav can mean chayav chatas, chayav misa, chayav to pay money. There's all sorts of things that apply the word chayav, so pater the same way. So what's he saying? Again, it would have been enough for you to bring a kasha against me from just a demonstration that it's pater and aser, but you had to bring against me a
Chayav chatas.
chayav chatas. That's as Shabbos said, overkill. But again, he still has to answer the question. He's not like really getting out of the question by saying this, but it's still, he feels, I guess, it wasn't derech eretz what Rav Kana did. Because if you can bring a kasha against someone in a way that preserves his dignity, it's better than if you have to lower his dignity. But as I said to you before, when the Chofetz Chaim explains why some of the Amoraim talk harshly to each other, he did justify it. It's actually not the Chofetz Chaim. It's a sefer called Chavos Yoer, one of the earlier poskim that the Chofetz Chaim is quoting, a tshuva of the Chavos Yoer. You can find it usually in Sefer Chofetz Chaim, by the way, usually at the beginning or at the end. The publisher usually publishes it at the beginning or the end of the Sefer Chofetz Chaim. This tshuva of the Chavos Yoer. And the Mishabur is bringing the Tshuva of the Chavas Yair because it's an important point that sometimes you do find the Tanoim or Amoraim speaking harshly to each other, and it seems to go completely against the rules of Lashon Hara. So he's saying no, but if for the sake of building up the truth, of showing what's really the truth of the Torah, there's a heter apparently. Okay. In any event, okay, so
that's a question,
he's
right?
going to need to answer this question. We'll see that in a minute, but let's just see the Rashis on the first part. Let's start with the Mololo. Mololo.
Mola means to crush it.
Mhm.
Then it's also between the two fingers.
Mhm.
To take out the smell, the fragrance.
Right. Now, by the way, the aleph at the end of Lahotzi is not pronounced. Right? Just like Motzi Lechem in ours, you don't pronounce the aleph at the end.
Hotzi Recha.
Right. To
Take out the smell.
take it out, meaning to cause it to go into the air. That's what you want. You want it to go into the air. When you cut it, it brings out the smell. When you crush it, it brings out the smell. Okay, so the Bryce is saying you can crush it in your fingers, but you can't chop it off at the end. You can't make an incision at the very end to bring out the smell. Rashi, lo yiktamena v'lo riachbo.
To cut to take out the smell. She'ehei makom akitma lach. The place that we cut it is moist. Recha noidov. The smell is strong.
Yeah,
It's
like,
soft, isn't it?
no date. It's like a pungent odor. So as if like the odor's like going into the air and reaching everybody.
Gizeret lo leisi kotna. Chotzboy. Shenov. By the Gezerah, you shouldn't come to cut to the teeth. The Hossam, over there, just with the smell, Kli Mishavele. It's making it clear, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Ike Isura Daraisa, is a Daraisa. To make a provision about the words. Cut the place where it's wet and bring out the smell.
Yeah. That's too much of a tikkun. And therefore, it's considered such a strong tikkun that mamish becomes an Isser Deraisa. What Isser Deraisa could it be? When it says Isser Deraisa, it really means Malacha Deraisa, right? Obviously, an Isser of Shabbos or whatever is we call a Malacha. So which Malacha is it?
Cutting?
No, you're not allowed to cut. Not allowed to cut along a dotted line, like tearing toilet paper along the dotted line.
Right.
What's the Malacha guy?
So here it's just cutting and then the wet part is oozing out the smell, right?
I think so. Where if you cut it in that spot, then it's much easier for the reach to go into the air. The odor goes much more easily into the air, kind of like the small particles of moisture go up into the air.
What's the problem with it?
That's not itself a problem, I think, but if you make a tikkun that's a real bona fide tikkun, then...
It's like food, isn't it?
Hmm?
It's like it's like food. Rare. Isn't often
No,
official
but
foods?
still, this is now like a kli for producing reach.
Yeah.
So it's a kli. You made a kli.
Precious.
That's what Rashi's saying. You made a kli. You made a tikkun. That tikkun's an Isser Deraisa. Now, how could it be an Isser Deraisa? It must be means it's a Malacha Deraisa. That's really what it is, right? No such thing as an Isser Deraisa per se. It has to boil down to being a Malacha Deraisa. Which Malachas? The 39 Malachas. Do you know that?
The 39.
Can you list them off to me? Should be able to, by the way. Because every Shabbos you have to be careful from all 39.
It's building?
No. The last one is called, what's the last one?
Kitma.
No, look it up. We have Gemora Shabbos here. Shabbos. Well, this is a mission you have to know. Right there, your thumb is on it. Your thumb is on it. Rafayin Gimel. It's in the 7th parak, which is easy. 7. Shabbos 7. Right. The second Mishnah is called. And the whole parak is called Klal Gadol. Because the first Mishnah and the second Mishnah talk about a Klal Gadol. And there'll be a third one as well. Klal means a general rule. So it talks about general rules of Shabbos. Look at Ayin Gimel Amud Aleph.
Is that a difficult Gemara to read?
You mean the print in that one?
No.
The actual Gemora?
Yes.
Learn it next if you want.
Oh, wonderful.
It's nice. Very nice Masechta. But yeah, I mean, it's long. It's 24 prakim long. It's much longer than most Masechtas. So most Masechtas are 10 prakim long. This one's even 4 prakim long. Sukkah's 5 prakim long. And the one that's 24 long, it's pretty long. But we understand why. There's 39 malachas, and there's also a lot of karbanos and different things that are involved in Shabbos, so whatever. Okay, so this is an important Mishnah, Daf Ayin Gimel Amud Aleph.
49 malachas, and 40 minus 1 is 39.
Okay, now I don't want you to tell me, but I do want you to maybe when you have a moment and you're in some shul somewhere and you have a few moments, take out down a Gemora Shabbos or a Mishnah Shabbos could be just as good, and read the 39 malachas, right? It's an important thing to know. Now the last one, read the last one. Last line, very bottom line.
Beitsa Rishos to Rishos. Alright, Olas Malachos. When it takes up a one, I'm sure to rent another way, it's full of the Olas Malachos. And Boyam Chasa Achos, probably for the Malachos. That's the last one, right?
What?
Taking out one Rishos to another Rishos. That's the last line of the Mishnah.
Do you have a name for it?
It's Beitsa.
Right before that, then.
Moichet Kol Manas, the Presev, Shtel Esres, Aboyne, Vaseise, Mechaber, Maber, Mako Papatish.
What's that?
Mako means a
Bang.
very touches the head, right?
You know what it's referring to?
Yeah.
It's referring to this case.
There's no hand in there.
Fixing a key, right?
Usually it's considered the last step in making a kli. Not always is it such a clear tikkun. Sometimes it's just a small little thing that the custom was to do it at the very end of making a kli. But basically doing the last thing to perfect it and make it into a kli.
Yes.
So apparently in this Mishnah, for example, this Beitsa is saying, if you take it, no, put it back where it goes, please. Thank you. If you take it and make the same incision to smell it, it has one din. Not derice, it's not derice. But if you cut it, the same exact, I think it would be the same exact kind of incision, but this time you do it in order to pick your teeth, that makes it malacha deraisa. I think it's makah b'patish, it's the malacha. Okay? Because we're talking about tikkun kli over here, so I think that would be the one that's most likely to be the malacha deraisa. Just to me, it's interesting. If you do it for smelling, then it's not a malacha deraisa. If you do it for picking your teeth, then it's suddenly malacha deraisa. So maybe the answer is, like you were saying before, Shabbatai. When we talked about the Yisr of, what the Savora in Rav Yehuda is, we said it could be, it depends on the length of time in which it will remain that way. maybe if you chop off the end to smell it, you may not use it again. That's it. Right? So it's not really going to become a kli per se. Because you're not going to use it again. Therefore, it never really became a kli that's going to be used, in an ongoing way. Whereas if you do it to pick your teeth, like everyone was saying here, we save it for later. So, because reach is going to wear off, right? So you can use it today, but you may not be able to use it tomorrow. But as a toothpick, you can use it today and you can use it tomorrow. So maybe that tikkun is a permanent tikkun. So then maybe that's why it's a malacha d'oraisa rather than just asur. Right? You hear what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That might be a reason why the Beitsa is mechalek. But either way, it's shver on Rav Yehuda. Whether it's malacha d'oraisa or just asur, it's saying he cannot do what he said you could do.
Yep.
All right.
This is like Makam Patish Kahana then.
Well, I'm saying Makam Patish. If you can find a different Isser, then that would be good as well. This is what I understand. This is what makes sense to me.
So perfecting a kli, right?
That's what it seems to be saying. So, being that we're talking about making a kli, and Makam Patish that is really what it is. To talk about the last step of making a kli, then the only difference I can see between doing it to smell or doing it to pick your teeth is the permanence of it. If you do it to smell, it's not as permanent, so therefore it's only asur midrabanan. If you do it to as a toothpick, then you make a permanent toothpick, which can be used and reused, so then it becomes makam b'patish. That's what I would think, perhaps. Because if you say it's binyan, I think that's shver. Because you say ain binyan v'stir b'kelim. There's a famous Gemora that says you don't have any binyan v'stir b'kelim. Better say makam b'patish. Okay, let's go on.
The Gemora Rashi, next one.
There's more Rashi.
Pater.
Should we continue to let Shmuley do the Rashis and you'll do the Gemora? Is that what you'd like to do, Shabbat? Okay. So the next one is the Pater. So we say if it's to... If it's just to smell, then it's Pater.
Ain't the same kli because you're not doing it to make it
Okay, so maybe this is what I was asking. Why is it not a malacha d'oraisa? Because it wasn't trying to make a kli. Just smelling it is not making a kli. The chayav chatas is different.
Chayav chatas b'Shabbos.
That Rashi doesn't say, but I guess he did mean to make it into a kli, right? Because he wants to create a toothpick that is a kli. Whereas to smell something is not a kli. That's how Rashi learns the difference. The difference is he wanted to make a kli or didn't want to make a kli. Okay. Now, this part is important. Rashi says...
Where are you reading?
No, the first part. I'm just saying the first part where Rashi is Pater because it's Ein L'Shem Kli. He's not doing it in order with an intention to make a Kli. So it seems that's how Rashi's answering my question. Why, when he does it for smelling, it's not an Isser d'oraisa, but if he does it for picking his teeth, it's Isser d'oraisa. Rashi seems to be answered because if you do it only to smell, you're not intending to make a Kli. Right? Just exposing part of the wood that smells nice. But if you actually cut it in such a way to make a proper toothpick, then you're intending to make a kli. And this Beitsa holds that's called that's doing a malacha. Chayav chatos. Now, Rashi, in the Chayav chatos, Rashi, he's going to turn around and explain the kasha of Rav Kana. How is this shver on Rav Yehuda? Because yesh
atzei b'samim.
Sorry, I'm just...
Should we start again?
Where
Chayav chatas in the Rashi.
Oh, yeah. Okay. The Shabbos?
Yeah.
Oh, the Shabbos, yeah.
Now the main now Rashi gets around to explaining the real kasha on Rav Yehuda, because Rav Kahana says we're talking here about atzei b'samim. Rashi says that is still shver on Rav Yehuda because atzei b'samim yesh. There are some cases of atzei b'samim.
Shehen ochli b'hema.
which are
food of an animal.
right. They're fit to be food for an animal. So therefore, this ends up being a kasha on Rav Yehuda because he was talking about food that's for an animal, and if this is not talking about food that's an animal, it's not a kasha on him. He was only saying, like we said before, if it's food for an animal, you can't make it into a kli. You're not making it into a kli. It remains food for an animal. So he has to find a case that you are dealing with food for an animal, and still it's usher. So we're talking about atzei b'samim. Is that really food for an animal? Rashi says it is. Yesh, not all of it, but yesh, there are cases of atzei b'samim.
She'en ochel behema.
And afilu hachi.
Chai.
So what's this kasha on Rav Yehuda? You said if it's ochel behema, then what?
It's not.
It's mutter to make some kind of a tikkun. But I found a brisa here that's talking about what atzei b'samim. Is that ochel behema?
Yes.
Rashi says yes, that's part of Rav. That has to be true, or else Rav Kana doesn't have a kasha. Because if Rav Yehuda is talking about ochel behema, that's the whole reason why he said it's mutter. And Rav Kana found a brisa that's asur, but it's not talking about Michael behema. Then they're not talking to each other. Must be it's yes, Michael behema. It's wood that's for smelling. How are you calling that Michael behema? Rashi says it must be that there are some kinds of it that are ochel behema, Michael behema, right? And even so, vafilu hachi, it still says chayev. And as Rav Yehuda says, you didn't have to find a case of chayev to ask a kasha on me. You could have said even pater would have been kasha, because pater means pater of alazah. It still would have been shver on me, right? So that's the next Rashi. Amarle. So here's where Rav Yehuda talks back to Rav Kana and kind of puts him in his place, because I think Rav Yehuda was bigger than Rav Kahana, but I'm not sure. I'm really Rav Yehuda to this Rav Kahana. He said to him, Ka kashali. You asked a kasha on me from something where it says pater aval aser. Right? Meaning, Rashi says, kolomar, that means to say, Chazarta, you brought back against me a huge kasha. Tshuva here means kasha, right? It's like an answer to what I said. I said it's mutter, and you answered me with a kasha. That's why it's a kasha, but it's an answer to my halacha. So you brought a very big tshuva, meaning you brought something huge to kill me, right? Lashiveni, to put me in my place. Now, imatzas a brisa. If you would have found a brisa, shina, lachsas boshina, that would say that if you did it in order to pick your teeth. If you found one that said cutting off the end to pick your teeth, and it would have said pater aval aser. If you would have found a brisa like that didn't say chayav chatas, it just said pater aval aser for making a toothpick, would that have been a good kasha?
Yeah.
Af he haisa tshuva l'devarai. That would have still been a good kasha against me, right? Just if you found a brisa that said pater, would have been kasha against me, because pater means pater aval aser, and I said mutter, so that also would have been right. Why would have been a good kasha? Shani Omer. I'm saying if you have a Michael Behemoth's mutter lechatchila, and you found a brisa that said it's usher, that would have been a good kasha against me. The kol shekain, and all the more so, you had a good kasha against me. That you brought against me a brisa that says chiyuv chatas. So he's basically saying you could have brought a much easier brisa against me. But you brought this huge, very scary brisa against me. Now the truth of the matter is, Rashi puts a disclaimer and he says, if you would have found a brisa that says pater of al aser, still would have been a kasha. Who says he found it? Who says he found a brisa like that? Like it's like saying, I know you had an alternative brisa, you didn't bring that one against me. You should have respected me and tried to bring a lesser of a slap in the face. But you brought the harshest case against me, chayav chatas. Oh my gosh. Okay, but that's just sort of water under the bridge. You know, you should have respected me a little bit more to bring me maybe an easier Beitsa, not as big slap in the face against me. But, okay, you decided to bring this one. Okay? But,
Aber eine Teshuva, it's not an answer.
meaning it's not a kasha against me. You have to remember, the word tshuva can mean answer, but if I'm saying a halacha, I say, this thing is mutter, and you want to ask a kasha against me, that's called a tshuva, a reply. A tshuva is a response, right? Like they call it in English, a responsa. But it means I said X, and you wanted to respond to me. So if I'm saying a certain thing is mutter, and you want to ask a kasha, it's called a tshuva. So sometimes a response is a kasha, sometimes a response is an answer. Here it means a kasha. So really you could have brought a much easier kasha against me, even if it just said patur of alasar. But you found a huge kasha against me that said chayev chatas. Sounds very scary, like mamish really against me. But then he says aval, but you should know the truth is eina tshuva. It's not a real kasha. That's not what you brought against me. It's scary, but I'm a big guy. I can handle myself. It's not really that scary because the truth is this Beitsa does not affect me. Why? What does that mean? Ki Tanya.
Because.
No. When? When did it really learn in this Beitsa that? Meaning that it becomes chayav chatas if you're trying to make a toothpick out of this wood. That's only kashin. Meaning, Rav Kana knew this. Rav Kana knew not all atzei b'samim is Michael Behema. But he said, if it doesn't specify, it means some of it is Michael Behema. And it's saying over here, chayav chatas, even on that. He's saying, no, you're making a big mistake. It's only talking about the hard one. So the supposition that Rav Kana had, yesh, that some of it is bound to be Michael Behema, Rav Yehuda says no, it's not. In this case, it's not. It's only talking about atzei b'samim kashim, the harder kind of wood, and what? They're not at all fitting for Michael Behema. So basically, Rav Kana thought he had a kasha against Rav Yehuda because he thought if it says atzei b'samim, some of atzei b'samim is a Michael Behema, is animal food. So therefore it's kasha against you. And he's answering no. Maybe there are some types, but this Beitsa is not talking about this. This Beitsa is talking only about the kind that's hard, and it's not Michael Behema, so therefore it has nothing to do with me. I said it has to be Michael Behema to be mutter. Now you're bringing me a Beitsa that's talking about something that's not Michael Behema. It's not shver on me.
Yes, that's not a question then.
It's not a question. Alright. Let's see it on the inside. Marinus.
Yep.
Amarle. Now with Rashi's help we know what he was saying. It's the sixth line at the end. Amarle, Roshei Tevos Aleph Lamed.
So Amarle.
So Rav Yehuda's answering Rav Kana. Kakashali. If now already you had a good kasha against me from just the saying of this Beitsa Patur of Al Aser. Did you need to go that far and bring against me a Beitsa that said Chayiv Chatas? You had a good enough kasha against me with Patur of Al Aser. So I'm saying mutter. So it's a good enough kasha against me Patur of Al Aser. You had to bring against me a chata, chayiv chatas. Was that necessary? Goes without saying that that's going to be difficult on me. So Ella, rather, in other words, this whole Beitsa is really difficult, one way or the other, but I have a good answer. Because what? Tanya, ki Tanya. Which means, when did, it's like a rhetorical question. When did this Beitsa learn that, hahi, that, meaning that it's chayiv chatas if you make a toothpick out of this wood? Only bekashin, only with wood that is hard. Okay, and then the Gemora is going to ask a kasha on it, but we'll stop here. Unless you want to go on. A few more lines.
V'nei milila nilihu. The next line.
Where are you reading from?
The next line.
Next line.
Kashin v'nei
Malila
nilu.
Nilu. It's a question. You have to read that as a question. We just said that this Bryce is talking about kashim.
Hard ones.
Now he's turning back to him without saying Amrle. It's really Rav Kana answering back to Rav Yehuda. You can't really say that. Because if you say this Bryce is talking about hard, look at the whole Brysa. The Brysa talks about a few things. One of the things it says before, it talks about making it for Reyach and all these things. It's talking about Malila. Just rubbing it between your fingers. But if you claim that this whole Brysa is only talking about hard wood, then is hard wood B'nei Malila? Is it susceptible to Malila? Is it like something that's Shaykh Malila? Right? When you say something's a ben something, it means it's Shaykh to that thing. It doesn't really mean a child of it, but it means it's susceptible to it. It has an affinity to it. So is it really something that has an affinity to being crushed between your fingers? Come on. Right? So now we see, by the way, this is the 1, 3, 2, 4 system. Remember I once spoke about that? Now we see why Rav Kana was sure that in this Brysa there's also the soft ones. That are Michael, that Rashi put in the beginning. That according to Rav Kana, he was sure that there are some Atzei Basamim that are Michael Behema, meaning that are soft. How did he know that? Why did he think that? It's such an easy answer for Rav Kana, Rav Yehuda to come along and say, no, it's talking about the harder ones which are not Michael Behema. We see now what Rav Kana was thinking. Because since the Brysa has in it a part about crushing it between your fingers, and that's impossible if it's hard, so that was the indication that we're talking about a number of different types of wood, some of them hard, some of them soft. And if we're talking about wood that's soft, then that's Michael Behema, which you see from Rav Yehuda, he agrees to that. The hard one's not Michael Behema, the soft one would be. And if Malila is only shaykh by the soft, and it's talking about Malila, so we're for sure talking about the soft. At least some of it is soft. So therefore we are definitely talking about Michael Behema in this Brysa, according to Rav Kana. That seemed obvious from the Malila case, which we now see, 1, 3, 2, 4. Now we see in his response what he was thinking originally, that he was sure it was talking about Michael Behema, at least part of it is Michael Behema, and that's what Rashi said before, that his kasha was based on the assumption that we have in this Brysa at least partially a discussion about Michael Behema, meaning the soft kind. So when Rav Yehuda says, no, it's talking about the hard kind, we understand now why Rav Kana didn't think that way originally. Because it goes against the part about Malila. They say it's all hard. So that's why Rav Kana thought this was a good kasha. Rav Yehuda's teretz is not really that good anymore. Because how can you just say it's all hard when it's not true? There's a Malila case over here which is soft. And if part of it is soft, it's at least talking about a case of Michael Behema. It's talking about Michael Behema, then why would you say Chayiv Chatas? So now Rav Yehuda has to pull out all the artillery. A very difficult answer, but sometimes you have to do the difficult.
Yehuda can take care of himself.
Yeah, he could take care of himself, but he's taking out the artillery here. The very most difficult answer, but you're allowed to say it from time to time.
Well, how does he answer Kana? It's about hard, right?
He said it's talking about hard, but Rav Kana proved that that's not true because one of the cases is Malila. For sure, there's a case of soft over here. So he says, you know what? Chisuri Mexera. It's a Brysa that's missing a few words over the time period. Words got missing over here. Vahachi Katani. And this is really how it should read. So now he's going to offer a new version of the Brysa. Rav Yehuda is going to say there's words missing, and he's going to supply the words in a way that makes everything fit together. But it's definitely mental acrobatics, and we can see why it's a bit of a push. Okay, we'll do it tomorrow.